Hello, welcome to my presentation. We are here to talk about this course of psychology and all I learned about it and connect it to my major of computer science. So we're going to do a concept, a chapter, and I'm going to try to relate it back to either real life or this major, and let's get going. So we started out with this movie document. It's an hour long. It's by Ted Neward. He's a programmer, and he talks about how we can apply psychology to both computer science and just to the regular work environment that you encounter every day. He talks about how a bunch of hard scientists are in philosophy and expand to the point of being its own science. Like everything started in philosophy is what he basically boiled it down to. He talks about some philosophy theories and some psychology techniques you can use in both real life and in your job. Very interesting video. I recommend you click the link later on when you have some time. Alright, so chapter 1, there's eight fields of psychology. I decided to talk about cognitive psychology. So, fun fact, cognitive psychology wasn't popular till the 1950s because they invented computers. Because those computers were a really good example of what cognitive psychology is, and everyone could relate to it. Because a computer, you input something, the coding, it changes the system, and it stores that information and retrieves it when needed. You could say a human brain does the very same thing. Pretty cool. Alright. So chapter 2, it was biologically, and I decided to talk about plasticity. Plasticity is the brain's ability to change, physically change and restructure itself. It's more stronger in childhood, but that doesn't mean you can't do it later on in life. You know, how a gymnast has to stretch and whatnot and train her body to be so flexible and whatnot? Well, the brain does the same thing, just in the brain region. Mathematicians have a higher gray matter in the right superior parental lobule. Interesting fact I looked up that today. Alright, so chapter 3 is selective attention. So, multitasking isn't effective. It's not really a thing. What's actually happening is that your mind's just switching back and forth from these two things very fast. It feels like you might be doing both at once, but it's not true. It feels effective to do that, but in reality it's not, because you're just slowing down, trying to switch back and forth between these two things. And honestly, when you're trying to do that, you lose a lot of information you could have gained from just focusing it one at a time. And yeah, pretty interesting. Don't multitask. It doesn't help life that well. Alright, so chapter 4. I did some more research about the autism spectrum disorder. So according to the book, it's a cognitive and social emotional disorder that's caused by different brain regions not having good communication. So a lot of people with autism struggles with social behavior, communication, and they often do repetitive things. It's a repetitive behavior because it helps them. And it's interesting because the brain's wired differently than other people's in certain ways. And actually there's been a study about how that might be the reason that generally people with autism have higher math skills. So, according to this one study, it seems when engaging in math problems, the ventral-temporal occipital cortex is more active during that time compared to the average person. So that's pretty interesting. So they're generally more efficient that way. So research meals like math, computer science, research, stuff like that, they're gonna excel really well in, according to the study. Alright, so chapter 5, gender roles. So this affects daily life. society has like this expectation to follow certain rules to an extent. You see every day like guys don't normally wear dresses, girls don't usually have physically demanding jobs like working the trades. You don't see that many women there. And yeah, like it's kind it's like in everyday life, even if you don't realize it. And but in more recent times, it's been like loosened. It's not that it's more common to see people defying these rules. It's being okay with society. Of course, there's still a gap to be closed about that. Like in computer science, of people, only 18% of women are computer science people. Poorly worded, but you get my point. Like, despite the fact that it's not anyone can do the job, it's more common for men to be there. We're working on that though. Alright, so chapter 6, color processing. So we have 3 color receptors, red, green, and blue. It's not the primaries that we use to view everything in life, and they're all, so we have those 3 main ones, but of course everyone's different, so somebody might say this color is blue, but another person might say, oh no, that's purple. That sort of deal. Some people only have 2 working perceptors because the red or green do not work properly, so they're colorblind. Same thing with dogs, they don't have a red receptor. And I thought this was interesting because I remember I took a coding class one time, and in order to like add color to a web page and whatnot, you had to insert the values in red, green, and blue, and I thought that was pretty cool because I didn't know those were the color receptors for us. Alright, so chapter 7, associative learning. There's many ways to learn. The big general one is associative learning, which can be broken down into conditioning, which is classical and operant and all that fun stuff. So you tend to associate 2 events that happen very like very close to each other and seem to have this sort of cause and effect deal. So if you put your hand on a hot stove and you feel pain, you associate hot stove and pain, and now you don't put your hand on the hot stove because you know better. Of course, this doesn't apply for like 2 random events happening at once, like a dog walked by your window and your alarm clock went off. You're not going to associate that well. This is cool for everyday life because you can learn why your behaviors are like that, and you can change them and put new ones in if you learn to associate stuff with different things. Like right after lunch, you're gonna go for a run. You can learn to associate that and that. Alright, so chapter 8, memory models. There's a lot of models, but they all follow this basic example that I gave you a picture of. So something happens, it goes into your fleeting memory. Eventually that's gonna process into short-term memory, so it's like on your mind sort of deal. It hasn't completely disappeared into long-term. Now, let's say this info is like the periodic table and you want to remember that for a test, so you're just gonna like study and practice it so it stays in short-term memory, the rehearsal loop. And after you take that test, you ace it and you're like, oh, I'm just not gonna think about it. Eventually that memory of the periodic table will slide into long-term memory, just chilling there till it needs to be retrieved again. Pretty cool. Kind of reminds me of a computer with how it processes information. Also, fun fact, sometimes the sensory fleeting memory thing will just go straight into long-term storage and you won't even think about it. Pretty cool. Onwards to chapter 9, heuristics and fixations. So these are like mental shortcuts your mind takes, and they're pretty accurate most of the time, but sometimes they're not. So there's availability heuristic, where your perception is distorted from personal experiences, and what people focus on. Like, for example, social media focuses on like planes crashing, but in reality that doesn't happen nearly as often as they like you to think they do. Then there's representative heuristics, which we focus on more what fits the idea, the picture we have in our mind, and ignore any other information that could be relevant. Like, you're so fixated, you get narrow-minded, and kind of sucks sometimes because you end up missing an obvious solution and you take hours to find it and you feel dumb. I included a little link for that one video clip where Ted specifically talks about it. Moving on, Chapter 10, Intrinsic versus Extrinsic Motivation. So, intrinsic is when you do it for the sake of doing it. There's no like other reason than you really enjoy doing it and whatnot. While extrinsic, you're doing something for this just so you can receive a reward or avoid a punishment and whatnot. Pretty cool, pretty neat. What's interesting about it is that if you're trying to motivate like your workers and whatnot to do more, don't give them money. That doesn't work. If they enjoy the job, adding more money is just gonna remind them that it's a job, it's a chore, and they won't want to do it anymore. And yeah. Alright, so chapter 11, daily life stresses. So, stress is bad. It's bad when it's really long term because that means you're suffering its negative effects for a long time, like sleep deprived and high blood pressure. Not good. This could be caused by your social life, work life, environment, yada yada. So, there's this one person, Simon Sinek, who talks about this specifically and how if your employees don't feel safe or respected in the work environment, it's going to reflect poorly on the company because they're not going to treat their customers right. So, make a safe environment for your workers if you want to get the business. Alright, so chapter 12, obedience. Alright, so basically, both Ted Nugent in the book talks about the Milgram's experiments, which boils down to that if an authority figure is pressuring you to do something, you're most likely going to do it. And Milgram took it to the point of having somebody think that they electrocuted someone to death. Cause yeah, this one person was being pressured by the authority figure to do it, so they did it. And now, if it was real life, that person would have been dead. Alright, so, it's interesting. It's a scary notion about how much power authority figure can have on you, on regular people, because these people weren't murderers, they were just everyday folks. Alright, so chapter 15, the Big Five personality test. So it's a personality test about your openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. So this test, and like any other personalities test, are often used to show your strengths and weaknesses, how well you can interact with others, how you can fix that. It's good for learning all that and how to fix it and whatnot. And yeah, it was pretty interesting. So I decided to search up if there was like common personality traits for computer science majors, and turns out that they normally score high on conscientiousness and openness, but score pretty low on extroversion, which doesn't really surprise anyone. Alright, so chapter 4, risk factors for mental disorders. Anyone can have a mental disorder. These risk factors don't necessarily mean you're gonna have it or not have it. And yeah, so like academic failure, chronic insomnia, chronic pain, family conflict, being poor, having an imbalance in your brain, which really sucks, poor work skills, parental parents, and more. But of course, you can always do stuff like exercise, get some more independence, get some more support to help combat that, and yeah. Alright, so chapter 15, humanistic therapy. There's plenty of different types of therapies for many different reasons. I thought humanistic therapy was interesting because it doesn't focus on the past. It just focuses on the here and now and what you can do to fix it. Pretty interesting, pretty cool. I like learning about it. You don't need to have problems to go see a therapist, so you can just see one for the sake of seeing one. And these are the works cited sources.